Okay, today's topic is we're going to be talking about our house down on Route 30. And this takes place in the early 1950s. I was about 3 years old to about 6 or 7 years old. I'm guessing somewhere in that range. Anyway,
Well, I went to second grade, so that put me at like 7, and you were 2 years younger, so you were probably closer to 4 or 5. I was 6, 7. You were 4 or 5.
yeah, yeah. 30 was a house that my father found that put us relatively close to my grandparents, and because my mom was sick all the time, I think this was a thing, Dad's way of getting her kind of close. But the house, I think, is what's kind of important. This was a house they rented that was 2 stories. We never used the second story because it was nothing but in my memory, of a big attic, and it had no running water. It had lights to the point where not a lot of lights. I don't even remember switches being in this house, but
Yeah,
were there switches?
There were.
Okay, and then but the heating system consisted of a potbelly stove that was in the middle of the living room.
Yeah.
There was no heat in bedrooms and things like that.
That he heated with coal.
Yes, yes, had to keep that going. And the big deal there was no running water, no bathrooms. We had outhouses, and we had a spring 100 yards maybe from the house. So
It might not. Yeah, it was. That's about right.
yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, that was
Now here's the contrast, though. We did live in Slovan, which had central heat, which had running water, which had indoor plumbing, which had electricity. All of that was dismissed to move to.
yeah, but it also had toxic waste raining down upon the
I-
entire community.
I just really don't think that was an issue.
Oh yeah, I don't either.
I don't think they had a clue.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's no
maybe.
trees, so we don't really care.
I
It's
don't
not
know.
a-
I don't know what the deal was. I'm pretty sure it was Mom's heart, and in looking back on it, with what I know about, little I know about her heart, was that I think what she had was heart palpitations, and I think they would start. Her heart would start increasing in speed, and it would scare her, and it would make it worse, and then she would have to lie down and rest, and then it would slow down. Now that was basically because when Mom died, they told me she didn't have a bad heart. Her heart was the strongest organ in her body. So there was some other issue going on with that heart. And being that I've always had an irregular heartbeat ever since I was a kid.
We all, I do, you do, I know Linda does. Vic's the only one I don't know whether she
and I
does or
thought
not.
it was everybody did. And I used to play with it when I was a kid, oh, let's make it go fast, let's slow it down.
Well, I thought mine was kind of intensified with the drinking of coffee. And I think back of Mom, who drank coffee
Oh, yeah.
all the time, and I just wonder if that had anything to do with, but who knows, whatever. Okay, back on topic though. Tell me memories of 30 and how that.
Oh, my God. I don't remember when we moved in. I don't remember that day per se. Maybe I wasn't even part of the move. I don't remember it. I just know you and I had a little room that was a lot bigger than this couch and that coffee table that we shared. And it was a single bed, single-sized bed that we shared. And there was a window just immediately, like right here, this would be the bed, and the window is right there, and there is no insulation. So I do remember snow coming in,
Oh yeah.
and
yeah.
it was cold. And then there was a door that opened out, and you went right into the kitchen. And immediately to the left of that door was another door that went upstairs to the attic. And yeah, so that was kind of, you and I had that.
Do you remember? Was there even drywall on that house? Because I'm thinking I remember the studs were. Now maybe that's, I don't know. But
There was drywall.
was there drywall?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there was drywall. But what I don't remember is, I don't remember how many rooms there were. There was that big the living room where the fireplace or the pot-belly stove was. Then there was there another room? I don't.
Yeah, I have no memory of that
I
either.
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember. And then when you went through that room where the pot-belly stove was, there was a door that went outside onto a porch that faced Route 30. And I don't recall there being stairs going down to the yard. It was just like a big deck enclosed. I never went down those steps that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I don't remember. That's fuzzy to me. Then, like a long go out of our bedroom through that door across the kitchen was a door to the outside, and that's the door we always used to go out. There was a little porch there with a roof on it, and it was probably 8 by 8, maybe, and a couple steps going down to the gravel parking lot. There wasn't a driveway. There was a driveway, but it ended in this gravel area in front of the house, which was big gravel. To the left, a third of the way to the source of the water, to the spring, was a place where Dad dumped the ashes from the stove and where he burned the trash. And then to the right was a garage, and the garage was just a one-car garage that was probably in the final stages of collapsing. Dad never used it as a garage. There was stuff in it. I don't know what kind of stuff, I don't remember. There was a pile of lumber behind that garage, that, not good lumber, from something that was ripped down. There were nails in it, broken shards, splinters. And I just bring that up because we spent a lot of time on the roof of that garage. And yeah, so then as you walked along the right side of that gravel area was a path to the spring, and it came out of the hillside. There was a pipe that came out, and it poured into, I would bet, it was about the size of a half of a barrel, a 55-gallon drum. So it's probably 25, 30 gallons, and it was some sort of ceramic, stone, and moss growing in it. But this water coming out, pretty good stream of water, kept it filling, and it'd overflow, and it would run down and go into some stream someplace. I don't remember where it all went when it overflowed. That was the water source.
I remember interrupting the water source is when Mom would wash, how it was our job, at least it seemed like it was our job.
It was our
Little
job.
4-year-old kids.
No,
We would go and get buckets of water from the spring and bring it back, and Mom had this, I remember this washing machine with a wringer on the top, and she would often, I remember her using that board, rippled board, she would be, can you imagine?
Well, I think she
And
had
I remember
an
that.
electric washing machine.
It was electric, yes, yeah.
She just didn't have a water source to fill it
Right.
up.
We
were
hauled the water.
Yeah.
We hauled the water, and we'd start out with a full bucket of water from the well, and by the time we got back, it was, who knows how much was left.
I know. It
But,
was every Monday
mm,
was wash day, and we carried water.
and
all
that's,
damn day.
and if you think about that, two young boys who got dirty a little bit, we would have bath day, and that's where we would sit in the bathtub of water, and she would pour some warm water in, but it was usually cold, and it was like because you were always the oldest, you got to go first in the clean water. You got the clean water. I got the water that all the mud and dirt and bugs that fell off you, I climbed in. And
you know what? I don't remember any of that.
Oh, I do.
I don't remember any of the baths, any of that stuff at all.
Well,
there are a bunch of things about that place I don't remember. It's like they don't exist.
Well, I have the biggest memory I have of that place is that it was my first time to explore the woods, and we were allowed. We would leave early in the morning, it seemed like, and the woods were ours. We could go wherever we wanted, as far as we wanted, in any direction. The only rule was when you'd hear Dad whistle, then you came. But short of that, that's where I developed my love of the woods and the forest and the whole outside, the exploring. I still love to explore in the woods, and that place that started me down that path of just enjoying the beauty. And one of the things that I remember us doing is we had like areas that were special, like there was the field where the slippy grass was on, and then I remember when you climbed a tree, not a big tree, but a sapling, and rode that sucker down to the ground. And I thought I want to try that. And I climbed a tree, a little sapling, and rode it to the ground. And in the process, of course, we knocked that tree down. And it was like a drug addiction. We just would climb one tree after another. And when you look back at the end of the day, all these trees in the woods that we toppled
all these
over.
Little saplings that we rode to the ground.
We were so proud of ourselves. And I remember telling Dad, "Oh, Dad, come look. We want to show you." He was furious that we'd killed all these trees, knocked them all down, and we thought this was the hottest thing since melted butter. Here we were from Slovan, where there wasn't a tree to be found, and we single-handedly destroyed I don't know how many trees, but it was fun times in the forest.
I remember riding the trees down. I don't remember that conversation. Maybe I wasn't part of that conversation with Dad, because I don't remember his wrath, his feeling about that one little bit.
Oh,
so
yeah, that was pretty strong with
me.
Think yeah, I maybe you just let it slough off, but
or maybe I'm just suppressing it.
But
yeah, I don't remember any of his anger about that at all. But I do remember we'd lived there for a while, and we had a flood. And because you go from 30, you drive maybe 20 yards, and there's a stream. There's a bridge over that stream. And then there's the driveway, which had to be 200 or 300 yards long. It probably was 50 feet. But my memory is it was true. It was pretty far. A gravel driveway, and then there's the house, which was not painted. It was bare wood.
Oh, yeah.
Dirty, ugly wood. Well, we had a storm, and it washed the bridge away. So Dad, I guess, made some deal with the landlord that he would build a bridge, and for rent money. I don't know the deal. But at any rate, he borrowed a tractor from Burgestown Farm Supply, where he worked, brought it down, and I don't know who helped him. I'm thinking Chuck Hott.
I think everybody helped, but Chuck did the most of it, as I remember.
I think he and Chuck did a lot of stuff.
And Buck helped, I think, in that too.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember Buck, but Chuck. Chuck was there often. Anyway, they cut a bunch of trees down, big ones, and they tied them to that tractor, and they pulled them down the hill. That was a hill that was behind the spring. Pulled it, and right next to the garage, pulled them down that hill and laid them across the stream as the support, and then apparently going to put boards on, 2x12s or who knows what. I don't remember what he put on it. I just remember those 3 or 4 big logs laying across that bank from one bank to the other that was going to be the foundation of the bridge. And then that path down that hill was, if he got upset about us riding trees down, he cleared a path that was probably 15 feet wide, and I'll bet a half a mile long down that hill.
Yeah, we used to Yankee jumper ride
That's
down
right.
that hill.
That turned into our riding hill.
I remember Dad coming down that hill when I must have really been small, because I was on his lap when he brought the Yankee jumper down off of that hill. I'm sitting on his lap. We're going down that hill. He hit a bump, threw me off. I went rolling and tumbling, and I still remember the Yankee jumper ride.
Yeah,
so I wasn't riding the Yankee jumper because I was too small, but I rode on him, and boy, he just threw me to the forest. It was
Well,
funny.
that crazy bridge is where I got my fear of wasps. Because up to that point, I don't think I even knew what one was. And I don't know how long, or maybe they were in the tree. I don't know. But we were down there. I'm walking across the log, because we back and forth. I'm walking across the log, and all of a sudden, these black bodies that looked like wasps, and I'm thinking back on it, it's probably they were hornets. I got stung half a dozen times on my legs, screaming and yelling, and I don't remember if I fell in or I ran, but I got hit a bunch of times. Well, let me tell you, from that day on, anybody that looked like that, any bug that looked like that wasp shape, struck fear in my heart to this day. And now here's the downside of that. That's not so bad. Okay, so don't go near any wasps. Remember, we don't have running water. We have an outhouse. Well, guess what's hovering around the outhouse? There are wasp nests all around the outside
Always
overhang.
Yep.
My days of going to the outhouse are over. I do not go to the outhouse anymore. Now, that just throws a kink into your life. Just absolutely. Now fear drives me away from the outhouse. So I'm not going into details about any of that, but you can just imagine.
Well, with that bridge, a story that I remember was that I remember we used to tie. This was a time we used to be cowboys, and Superman was big. I remember putting a towel around my neck and running, and the towel flapping in the wind like Superman. And I remember I went down by that bridge, and there was a wheelbarrow there. And what in the world made me think? Because we used to play with the wheelbarrow, and the wheelbarrow was Adolf Bertovich's that Dad had borrowed for whatever reason.
It was that big heavy with the steel wheel.
Big heavy thing.
Yeah.
And I decided, Superman, I'm going to take that across that log. I go out across that log, and I made it a good halfway across before, of course, it falls and I fall. We both end up down in the creek. Didn't get hurt or anything, but I'm soaking wet. The wheelbarrow's in the thing, and then the only way out is to crawl up the stones that were on the side. Dad had put a bank of stones to hold the wall, and there were snakes in there, and it was just like, I got no choice, and I just had to crawl up over the side of that thing, soaking wet, and then I knew I'd be in big trouble because that wheelbarrow's now in the creek, and there's no way I'm getting it out. And
See, you make light of that, but those logs were easy 5 or 6 feet off of that water, above the water. So you fell 5 or 6 feet into the water
with a wheelbarrow.
With a wheelbarrow, you could have easily landed on top of it.
Oh yeah.
It could have landed on top of you. There are all kinds of destruction that could have happened in one little event.
Yeah. You just think of us climbing the trees and falling out of one of those trees.
Yeah, there's always that.
Landing on a rock because you didn't quite predict which direction the tree was going to fall. There was, and the roof thing. Remember running across the roof?
Oh my God.
Of the garage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Describe that one.
So here we are. The peak of the roof. Well, okay. So
the garage roof you're talking.
The garage roof. Now this garage is big enough for a car to pull through the opening. Now that's the rectangular opening. Then there's the triangle above it. So you say the car's 5 or 6 feet clearance, for the car to pull through. So probably 6 feet to the top of that rectangular opening into the garage. Then there's the triangular part, maybe another 3. So the peak of the roof is somewhere around 9, 10 feet high, somewhere in that range.
But it was up against the bank, so we weren't jumping the whole height of that. If you went out far enough, you could catch the bank and cut that distance, I think, the fall.
No.
You don't think?
No, because the bank went up the side of the building. This garage was turned so the back of it pointed toward the field that Dad used to drive that tractor in. There was no bank.
See,
that was
I
all
was
level.
thinking we jumped up on a bank.
Oh, no.
That was a long go. That was a long ride down.
If you go off of the edge, along the edge of the garage, not the peak, then you could go to the bank, because that's where the bank went up, toward the spring and that hill. The other way was where Dad had the garden, and that was all level. So we were jumping pretty much 8 or 9 feet, maybe 10, I don't know. But we would run out a lot. We didn't tell Mom. We would go out, put on our Superman capes, get up on that garage. We go off on the other side. I had some flat place where we could get up, go up on top of it, and run along the top of that and fly. And we would land and roll. Land and roll. And we're jumping over this pile of boards that had old nails in it.
And jagger bushes. I remember there being jagger bushes because that's where you threw my frog. Remember how I only had one toy
that was
survived?
Off to the side.
Yeah,
that was off to the side, and that was in the bank, and there were all kinds of briars back there.
Mm-hmm.
But where we were jumping, there might have been 1 or 2, but we didn't land in those. We had a pretty clear opening, and we did that hours and hours and hours, and it was second nature to us doing that until Mom saw us doing it one day. Oh my God, did she get angry. We both... Now, there was a willow tree halfway to the spring house. She caught us doing that one day, scared her to death. Go get me a switch off the willow tree. A switch! She's going to beat us with a switch. Now,
we got a lot of beatings at that house.
we deserved a lot of beatings, I think. But I went and got her a switch. I got her this big stick that if she'd have hit us with it, she'd have killed it. And I brought it back and I handed it to her like, here you are, master, there's your weapon. Cracked her up because it was so big that she didn't beat us for that. And when she didn't, then we all started laughing. And I went, Mom, we can do this. And I took her out and I explained to her what we're doing. And she let us jump again, and she watched us do this. I said, we've been doing this. You can see the ground's all worn down to dirt behind it. We jump here all the time. And we're not getting hurt. So she backed off, and we were allowed to do that. So it was okay.
And that place was the beginning of our practical jokes things. Because I remember when that burn pal that we had, for some reason, we watched these shows on TV where they would dig in the jungle, a big pit, and trap a lion or a tiger or whatever.
Ramar of the jungle. Yes.
So we were impressed by television. It altered things we did. And we dug a pit, a hole that was deep. It was really deep.
Yeah, about 3 feet.
Yeah. And we covered it all with these little sticks and twigs and whatever. And I
It was
remember,
out in that where Dad had all the ashes.
oh yeah, where the broken bottles are and glass.
Yeah.
And we walked Eileen, who was pregnant at the time.
9 months pregnant with Randy.
A lot.
Yeah.
And we walked her into that, and she fell down into this hole right up to her belly. And we thought that was the funniest thing going. That's when Mom beat us, one of our better beatings. She beat us both.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and we didn't quite understand the whole ramifications
We didn't
of
at
this.
all understand.
But
At all.
she tuned us up
Oh,
from
yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah.
That
We
was-
weren't going to walk anybody into a pit again.
No, she was.
We didn't realize it was a pregnant woman that was really at risk there, but
Yeah.
until, of course, many years later. But oh yeah, you're absolutely right about that. We dug that pit. It was perfect.
Okay, what do you think? Is that enough about Route 30? You got anything final thoughts
Oh, there's tons more, but
for now?
another day maybe.
Okay.